Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's February 10th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And really, we just spent most of the day in a trading range. We did have a real late breakout here, and if you were still trading, there was a trade in here. A couple of them right before we hit the 2 o'clock hour. But for the most part, we trended up, we trended down, we trended back up. We kind of got hung in a little trading range correction there after the break of this channel, and then we went higher. I ended up changing this channel a little bit as the day went on. Earlier in the morning, I originally had it a little bit steeper. I think I had it more like this right here. But to be honest with you, having it that way really set these other trades up a little bit better. So I'm not, you could really see it either way. It fits about. There's not much difference. So depending on how you had it, it doesn't really change things. In fact, it may even still fit better the way I had it originally. Just looking at it, you still pretty much, oops, took too many lines off there. You still kind of get to the same place. Um, you know, all these trades still set up. I still think I had it just a little higher because I didn't quite have a break there. I probably had it more like that. But see, then you come up short right there. So you might have had it either way. Either way, you still kind of came to the same conclusion. I think it fits the best right there. Um, off those really the downtrend started here, so you could kind of start that. A lot of times I'll start it off the very high up there, and and if you do that, then it looks better like this. You still get the break there either way, so I still kind of like it better like that. Um, there's not much difference. There really is not much difference at all. Um, the only thing I see different there is that we bounced a little bit earlier both times, but that doesn't mean the line's not just a tad higher there and we're just overshooting it. But generally, when you overshoot it like that, this is going to be a two-tiered and you're going to have another tier down here, but it just never materialized. But regardless, however you saw it, it's working down here. And I had somebody else that sent me their chart. I want to show this. But anyway, once we started back up here, I would have been looking for a measured leg. You see, there's leg one. You move that over here. And so you're looking for um, a target at least there. And you can see we actually got, we actually went slightly higher than that. That target was 2061, basically 2062. And we went about 4.5 points higher than that. So, when you go further, that's even better. So, but that's how I would have been looking for my target. But let's talk about this for a little bit because somebody sent me their chart early this morning, and their chart didn't look like this. Their channel didn't look like this. They had their channel drawn. I don't even think I can get mine to draw that way. Well, maybe I can. You draw it. They had theirs drawn more like that. Um, and maybe over here like so. And that doesn't look wrong. I mean, it really doesn't look wrong. Um, but the only difference is you don't get the break here, and then they were looking for a retest. But what you got to understand is that, yeah, you're looking for a retest. You see the break. On my chart, there was a break here, and there was a move to a new high. And then we tried to go higher again. It fails, and it goes lower. But what you got to understand is this, when we made this double top, there's a chance this is a range day. And so you may not, and if the range is too strong, you may not get a new high on the retest. Yeah, the rules tell us you'll probably get one. Prices will tempt it, and most of the times you'll get it, and a lot of times you'll get two new legs, but sometimes you don't get it. So once you start seeing prices moving the other way, you just got to switch gears. We didn't get it. So it doesn't mean that you keep sitting here all the way down trying to find a way to get long. And in fact, you could still argue that, hey, we had the break, but we had a nice trend down before we got the retest and the new high. So you still, you don't know when the retest. Usually, you're not going to have a trend like this when you're expecting a retest. So generally, you're going to have prices. You know, you might get a big leg like this, and then go higher. Um, but generally, you're going to get your retest, you know, pretty quickly. So once you got below the EMA here, you had to be thinking short, and so just keep that in mind. But yeah, if you drew yours the way they drew theirs, and again, I'm not saying that theirs is wrong and mine's right, but I saw it as being a little steeper. Um, and actually, it might even be a little bit steeper than that. Because generally you want to catch those closes and see how you're catching those right there, and you still caught the close here. Even though it's outside the line here, you still caught the close. And so when I dig in real close, I kind of like that even better, and that fits better on the upper side as well. So I think that's actually it, and then you get a clear break. And you can see we tried to bounce right there. So, but the idea here is, and one reason it was probably if you were here trading it when you first early, I didn't get here till 7, so prices were already down here when I drew the lines. And that might make a difference too, seeing it after the fact, if you started drawing it as it was forming. But you know, you always can go back and recheck your lines, just like we kind of did here. Go back and double check them and make sure they're fitting on both sides. And another thing that's common is that sometimes in the overnight, if you get a channel like this that forms during the overnight data, which this really did, it's not uncommon to see a push on one side or the other that never comes back to in play, or you don't consider it a break, because sometimes you get moves like that in the overnight session and then it settles down afterwards and it doesn't really affect the price action. So I think that channel right there is the proper one. That gives you the first 2 swings. You get it confirmed here. You get a little break here. Then it comes back and tests it again there. And you can see it bouncing off of it there, and you get the break. So I think it lines up better right there. That's in the end. That's the way I like it. And again, you don't have to get it exact. You have to be close. I mean, you can't come in here with your lines looking like this, and you know, even though that kind of fits up there. Uh, You drag this one down, and you know it's not completely off either. I mean, but I'll see people send me their lines like that. But notice how it's bouncing down here and it's not touching. Notice how it's not getting back up to the line and it's turning down. That tells you that something's not right with it. Even though you're getting some touches in there, something's not right with it. And look how neatly prices, except for that one little overpush there, every time prices touch one line, they go to the other one. And notice here, this is interesting here. We touched here. Notice that we didn't touch down, but we hadn't got back to the upside, so we were still going up, and that's what they ended up trapping people before they took it long here. And I'll talk about this again in a minute too, because it's interesting. I had some interesting conversations with a couple of different people right there today. But then we started trending higher. We got a break here, a move to a new high, then you're trending down, a break here. You didn't get a new low here either. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. It just went higher. So once it starts trending higher, you got to go with what's on the other side. So keep that in mind. I mean, that's just how it works. Sometimes not everything is 100% in the market. So, but let's talk about the trades, and I want to remember to talk about this area right here. I mean, you can see how flat. Look at how it's just congestion here, and it's not really a good place to go long or short. Notice I don't have any trades marked in there, even though there's a couple of traps and stuff. If you were going to do anything, I would consider going long here, because at that point you had this support across here, and you can see that that's a failed break lower. This probably should have been a little bit lower, and it traps people and then it runs up. So, and this is looking like kind of rangy here. So if anything, you might go long there. One trader sent me his, and I think he went long. He had a break right here above a bullish looking bar. You don't see that on my chart, but he had it on his. And he went long right here. and it turned down and trapped him out and then went exactly where he thought it was going to go. But one thing he did was um, he went long on a first entry. So notice the high first entry. The second entry doesn't come to here, but he also went long. He didn't wait on the little trap. The only way I'd want to go long there is a trap because everything's trending down. So if it breaks lower and traps people, then you'll probably get a scalp out of it. So if he'd have waited maybe one or two more bars, he'd have got a good setup and he wouldn't have got stopped out and it would have been a good trade. But another thing was he had the break here and he didn't have a new low yet. And notice how it kept pushing and kept pushing until it finally got a new low and then it went higher. No, you don't always get a new low, but you got to skip that trade if it doesn't fall in line and follow the rules like you're expecting. So hope that's clear. But let's talk about the trades. Again, we had this little channel working up, and we had a break here. And this is just a first. There's actually a leg down, a push up, another. There's actually 3 legs down there. If you went to a smaller chart, you'd see 3 legs. But this one's kind of questionable because on this chart it's a first entry. This is not a great signal bar. This one looks pretty good. So you might have tried to go long above that one, but if you did, you probably didn't get filled and it took on off. It did come back again and then went back up, but it's probably questionable if you got filled on this trade. If it looked better on your chart, then you probably wanted to take it. So, and then we make a double top. That's an important piece of information there, that double top. Yeah, I would have thought this probably would tick back and go higher, but look, it never broke higher. It never triggered, at least not on my chart, and then it turns down and gives you a second entry short off of that high. Again, it's not a great setup because it didn't tick higher and trap people, and it just keeps on going down. But depending on how it looked on your chart and even on my chart there, you might consider taking that short because it's an important double top, and when we couldn't break higher there and it turns down, it's telling you something. You probably got too strong a resistance here to go higher for now, and it looks, it's looking kind of rangy. So it starts working down. There's actually a failed second entry long counting from way over here, but I just think that's too, and there is enough room to scalp out. So you might have even considered that one right off that trend line. I think it's a little iffy. I'm going to go ahead and mark it green because we went below the EMA and pulled back and tested it. There's some reasons to consider that trade if you're being aggressive. It's a little bitty bar too, so it's kind of low risk. So you might have taken that one. But then I think you just had to sit tight and play this out, and then it breaks lower. And I actually meant to circle this green right here, because I think if you're being aggressive, you're going to take that long right there because this looks like a trading range, and we got a failed break lower. We've also got a break of this trend line and a couple of legs down to a new low, and then it bounces. And you got enough room to scalp out. So you don't even know if this is a valid trend line yet. You just got it drawn there off the first 2 swings. And guess what? It pulls right up to that point and turns down. And it gives you a second entry here. Notice it's moving up. First entry, pull back, second entry, a little double top there, nice bearish bar, nice place to go short right there. And this turns out to be a really nice quick trade. You get a break here. You actually got a failed second entry long, but the fact that you're coming off these lows down here and there's a double bottom, well, you don't really have the double bottom yet, but the fact that you just barely broke lower, and I don't think you want to take that short right there. Let's see if it would have. I don't even know if it worked. I don't think it would have worked unless you used a limit order. 48 and a quarter. Now, if you used a stop, it would have been you would have got to 4 ticks and never got filled probably, and it would have bounced. So the only way you make this one work is with a limit order. I don't like it, period. I'm not going to mark it. I don't think it's a good trade. You might have considered going long here, but again, it looks too much like a repeat pattern here, and you're waiting on it to break lower, and it doesn't, and it just goes higher. But notice that double bottom. You pull back first entry, pull back another second entry short right there, right off that trend line, or either slight break of it. I like that one. And look at it, another quick move down. And I like this trade. Now notice all those matching lows. You get a little failed break lower, it pulls back. you can't go long because you don't have a. That's the first break of this little trend line working down. So I'm looking for the breakout pullback short, and that's exactly what happened. And that quick move was so quick and easy, but then it bounced almost just as quick. So um, and then you get two legs up and a second entry with another big bearish bar, and a lot of times you're going to get two legs down. But I was looking for prices to come down and test this area. I was actually looking for prices to go a little bit lower, maybe another couple of ticks. But the reason being was that was uh, there were a couple of reasons I was looking for that. There was a gap in the overnight chart that would have been filled down here. Um, we needed to get down here somewhere. But most importantly, that was the previous day's open. So I think it was the open from way over here. Um, I can't. I'd have to go back and look at my. I'd have to put that back on here. And I'm not going to go to all that trouble. But actually, I know what it was I was looking for. Here was there's actually previous support here. If you go back multiple days, there's some support across here several times. And that was one of the reasons I like that area. But one of my current day open highs or lows, or previous days open high or low, was right across where I was looking for prices to go back to. And actually, that's what it was. The open was right here. So what is that price? Prices opened up right here at 2042.50. So, or actually it was 2042.75. So that's where I was looking for prices to go. And you see they went to, we missed it by about 3 ticks. And the reason being because that's where we opened, and then the regular open was way up here. So there's a gap between there on the daily chart, and that is normally filled and before it'll bounce. And we talked about that a day or two ago. So that was the reason I liked this as a target. So I was looking for prices to come down there anyway. Um, and then you also want to measure each leg. Once you got here, once it starts going lower, you're looking for a measured leg. And you see that was a perfect measured leg to the tick right there. So that was another reason to look for it to go to at least here. And obviously that one won out, and we didn't quite fill the gap. We missed it by a couple of ticks. So, and then it bounces. But we do have a break, depending on how you looked at this. Looking at it now, I think this is, there's definitely a break there and a couple of legs down to a new low, and then it reverses. And there's a trap right here. I marked this one in green because it's a big bar, and you had to go long way up here, and he wouldn't have got filled on any limit orders here. I mean, this thing took off. That's what a trap does. Um, People will ask me about a trap and say, but it didn't go anywhere. Well, if you see a trap and it doesn't really move very quickly and move very far, it probably is not a trap. It didn't trap many people. It didn't fool anybody, in other words. So, I mean, a trap normally, a lot of people got fooled. They've been watching it go down and down and down, and they don't realize it's about to end. They don't realize what prices, what the objective was as prices, which was to come back and fill that gap. And once we got there, people are trying to get in a little bit early because you can't get in a lot of times right where you think prices are going, and so there was just too much buying pressure, and it reverses. And but this is a nice little setup, and so I marked it in green. But notice we're coming up, and you try to go lower once right there. That's actually a second entry short counting from the low, but it's not a very good setup, so you don't want to go short. And then you get a little move down, and it goes higher, and then it turns right back down, and you get one more little tick lower, and then it turns and goes straight up. So you might have been waiting there with a stop, and if you did, it would have worked. It's a little bit aggressive because it's such a big bar, and um, we did have the break and 2 legs down, but that's real iffy. And that bearish bar is what fooled everybody. And plus there's a little trap to the long side, and that just fooled a lot of people. But it's a failed second entry short counting from right there. Um, so it's it's a pretty good setup, and prices really never look back from there. We're started up now. And then you get a little. This is a two-legged pullback. This ticked a little higher, but that's still two legs back and a big bullish bar right off the EMA, right off the trend line. You can't ignore that one. Um, and it looks close enough to be a second entry that it's going to act like one probably. And you move up here, and then actually get a failed second entry long. But again, you can't go short there because you've had no break of this. That's the first break of this little channel moving up. So just sit tight, and guess what? You actually get a repeat pattern. Let me draw the line here. This pattern shows up 3 times. Here's where it showed up early this morning. It did the same thing right here, and then it does it again right here. Notice that you're working along there, and you get that little failed break lower, and it reverses real quick, and that trapped people because look at it go. And again, people they don't understand what's going on here. And they're probably still been thinking short ever since way over in here. And it breaks, it turns down, and it reverses, and it traps them and goes straight. And that's what a good trap does, just that right there. But that people were trapped. Look at it go. And it reaches the high, which is also the double top from over here. So there's strong resistance. And a lot of smart traders are going to just, as soon as they get a bearish bar, they're going to short that. I think you're better off to wait on the second entry, and that doesn't come till here. You really don't get a second entry off the top. This is a second entry, but it's counting from the lows. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. So that's 2 legs back, makes a double top again, and that's 1, 2, 3. That's the 4th time we found resistance there. Quick, easy move down, and then it tries to go lower again, and you get a second entry short again right here, a little bit lower. So I like that one. All you can get out of that's the scalp, and then it reverses. So you might have even thought about going long. I don't think you can until it gets back above the EMA and you get that little lower high. There's a little lower high right here than there. It's kind of hard to see. Those bars are kind of tiny. But you can see it never breaks lower, but it makes a lower high, and so that's a second entry counting from here. And again, that's a little failed break lower than those lows there, and so it's similar to even that repeat pattern, although it's not 100% the same. It's close enough. And then you get a failed second entry short right here, and again, it doesn't really tick lower, but it's right off those closes in that trend line. So I liked it. It's a little bit aggressive. It's right into the 2 o'clock hour, but I still liked it. And it's a breakout pullback long from what was support across here. We tested it 1, 2, 3 bars, and it goes higher. So when it broke above that little matching highs, that was kind of a good place to go long. And it actually pulls back. Not a very good setup, and that's right into the 2 o'clock hour, and not much else happening after that. So. But that's what I saw today, and again, this was just a little tricky here. But just remember that you had that break, and until you got that new low, you really don't want to be thinking about going long there. And so. And look at all the bars stacked up there. A lot of congestion. Just a lot of different reasons not to be. We had the break, and you're looking for the new low first. I would have been more apt to go short there almost, but I know not to go short into that triple bottom across there. So you just kind of got to see it and see what happens. And when it broke lower, you could go long there. And I had another trader that sent me a couple of emails. He went long here, and then he went long, I think, here. And then he was talking about going long from right in here. And you notice it kept on going down. And I sent him an email, and I basically Gave him a little slap on the back of the hand there because it's obvious we're working down and he's looking to buy. He's looking for some reason to buy all the way down, and he missed all these good shorts. He did pick out two winners on the longs. This one and I think it was this one and this one. And guess what? He saw the traps, so he had the right idea. You know, there's some traps there, but once you realize you got a trend working down, this is what you're looking for. Switch gears and start looking for the shorts because this is where look at the good moves that came off there. There's 3 trades right there that would have set you up. That got you 2 or 3 points on every one of them, and you're done for the day. You know, if you make, just trading singles, there's probably 6 to 8 points right there, easy. And they're quick, easy moves, and there's no heat, and they just take off. But instead, he's buying, and luckily he was picking, the right what he was counter trend trading all the same. Maybe not so much here. I was okay with this trade, but by that time, his next one was somewhere in here, or maybe it was right here. I don't remember. Um, but I wasn't too happy with that one when he told me about it because by that time it's obvious we're going down. And look at these trades you're missing. You're missing the easy ones, and you're taking the ones that are suspect that are going to come back to haunt you. Um, Again, there was some good in there because he's seeing the traps, he's understanding what's going on. To some degree, I don't think he understood we were in a big downtrend yet. I think he understood that, hey, this looks like a range. There's a trap there. This looks like a trap on congestion. We're probably going higher. He got that part of it. So, but he just happened to miss all these nice shorts on the way down. But that's really what amateur traders do. They try to buy all the way down, and then they finally decide it's time to start selling, and then they try to sell all the way up. And they're always doing exactly the opposite of what they need to be doing. And you got to break that habit. It's a hard habit to break because that's common sense tells you to do that. So anyway, I think we've talked enough today. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.